the game.
Hi, I'm Kelsa Dickey, the CEO of the Financial Coach Academy and my financial coaching business, Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. My coaching journey began more than a decade ago with me helping people for free from my dining room table. What was once a little business of mine has grown into a 7-figure company that employs a team of people. My goal is simple, to help you fall more and more in love with financial coaching. I believe financial coaching is the most rewarding way to make a living. If you are an aspiring financial coach or have been coaching for years, I'm here to help you create a business you love that gets your clients massive results. Let's get to it. Hey, Coach. Welcome to episode 53 of the Financial Coach Academy podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how to get more referrals from your BNI membership. I actually met my podcast producer, Bill, through BNI, and we were just kind of having a quick laugh about that before this episode started. But first, let me go ahead and read a review from C. Smith. C. Smith says, not a podcast reviewer. This is the first podcast review I've ever left. Episode 45 and 46 have given me so much confidence and clarity in my client journey. I literally can't wait for next Thursday morning when the next Growth Guide episode drops. Or I might just need to finally buy FCA. Thank you so much. From not a podcast reviewer to officially a podcast reviewer just for us. Thank you so much, C. Smith. I am glad that you're loving the Growth Guide, and I really enjoyed writing it and thinking about it and bringing it to you as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to leave a review and for being a listener, C. Smith. So let's dive into today's topic, BNI, and whether or not it's a good way for you to get referrals as a financial coach. If you are listening right now and you don't know what BNI is, this episode is for you. Or if you're listening and perhaps you're already a member, but you're not getting the referrals that you would like, then this episode is also for you. Finally, if you know what it is and have considered joining, hopefully this episode helps you decide whether or not you should. First, what is BNI? BNI stands for Business Networking International. Their website is bni.com, Business Networking International. BNI is a global organization with 11,097 local chapters, according to their website, with a focus on building relationships, sharpening your skills, and giving and receiving referrals. Local chapters are made up of members who meet weekly for 90 minutes. In each chapter, there can only be one person per profession. So there can only be one accountant, for example, or one financial advisor, one contractor, one landscaper, one insurance agent, and yes, only one financial coach per chapter. Each week, you are meeting with the same members of your particular chapter, plus visitors who possibly drop in. Visitors are typically people not in BNI who are visiting chapters to sort of check it out. Or they are members of other chapters that are of a profession that you do not have inside of your chapter. Or like I said, they're members of chapters who are visiting because your chapter doesn't have their profession represented. So let's say you join your chapter as a financial coach, you now have that spot and no other financial coaches can join your chapter. And as a member, you can visit other chapters so long as they don't have a financial coach already represented. The idea is that you are your member's go-to person to refer to when the opportunity presents itself. This should create referrals and potential new clients for you. That's the idea. But it provides a lot of other benefits as well, and it can also feel like a waste of time if you're not careful. So we are going to explore both sides of that coin today. So how do you join BNI, and what's the format and structure once you join? Of course, with 11,000 chapters, there will be some variations to what I'm about to describe, but the overall gist is likely similar. Some chapters just enforce the rules more strictly than others, and each state can also have different rules. First, my recommendation is to visit as many local chapters in your area as you can. You want to be picky. In just a little bit, I'll talk about what you want to be looking for when you visit these chapters and when you attend their meetings. But you can visit a chapter 2 times, and then you have to decide if you want to join that chapter or not. So you can visit a lot of different chapters 2 times each. So let's say you find the chapter you want to join. Next, you apply and you pay an application fee. You're interviewed by members of the chapter that you're trying to join. They are looking to make sure you're a good fit. Some chapters are really strict on your business being your full-time job. But again, this is one of those things that is not always a requirement, depending on the chapter and depending on the members who interview you. What they're really looking for are committed members, people who are willing and able to dedicate time to meeting with the other members and overall being an engaging and active part of the chapter. So if you can demonstrate an ability to do that, even if you're working full time while sort of working your business on the side, some chapters are totally fine with it. This is one of those things that I would be feeling out when I visited a chapter if I were brand new and looking for a chapter. So you visit chapters, you choose the chapter you want to join, you apply and you get interviewed, and you pay the membership fee, at which point you are officially a member. From there, you meet with your chapter weekly. These are usually on the same day, time, and in the same location. You can find chapters that meet at 6 a.m., some that are over lunchtime, some that meet in the evening, some that are virtual only. But the chapter typically maintains the same day and same time meeting schedule once it's chosen. And every meeting follows the same agenda. The agenda is meant to serve two main purposes, I would say. Number one, to help visitors who are wanting to join the chapter. And two, to hold members accountable to passing referrals and passing business around to one another. During the meeting each week, you will have a few seconds, so typically less than 1 minute, sometimes only 20 seconds. If the chapter has a lot of members, it's going to really cut down on the amount of time you have to share your name, business name, and then something specific about what you're looking for help with, or what type of client you're looking for, or simply sharing a tidbit or a piece of advice about how you help people. This is often referred to as your commercial, and I'm going to be sharing some ideas for your commercial in just a little bit. The idea is that by meeting weekly, you stay front of mind for the other members and vice versa. You are always thinking about the other members. So as you're working your business and talking to other people during the week, you have in your mind the people and the members of your chapter that you can refer to more easily, and hopefully they are all thinking about you as well. In addition to the membership dues you pay to BNI Corporate, you may also have some sort of weekly dues for your chapter. This is going to be different across all chapters. It could be just a requirement for lunch or breakfast. If your chapter meets in a restaurant, they might have a minimum requirement for how many meals are ordered each week. So as a member, you are highly encouraged to buy lunch from there and not brown bag it, sort of thing. Sometimes it's a weekly fee, oftentimes paid monthly to the treasurer of your chapter, because the meeting room you use maybe has a venue fee that is not covered by the organizational membership dues. Outside of the weekly meetings, you're also encouraged to meet with the other members and do one-to-ones. This is so that you can get to know one another, but also so you can learn about them, their business, and who their ideal client is. That way, during the week, when you're talking with your own clients or friends or family members, if one of them expresses a need, you know how to recommend them to this other member. Of course, the same should be true for you and how the other members are referring to you. In addition to one-to-ones, some chapters host other types of meetups or hangouts, things like happy hours or holiday parties or those types of things. These are typically treated as optional, and some chapters are really active, whereas others don't really do a lot of these types of things. There are some organizations that tend to be structured similarly to BNI or just provide other networking opportunities. And I just wanted to mention these as well. Again, your local chapter for any of these may be structured slightly differently, so you'll want to visit and check them out and not take my word for any of these. Some of these are U.S.-based only, but not all of them. So there's the Chamber of Commerce, SCORE, LETIP, which is LETIP, LETIP, BRE, which is Business Referral Exchange, 4 Networking, the number 4 Networking. If you're in the UK, that is an option for you. EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization, which has a revenue minimum of, I think, $1 million to join it. YEC, which is Young Entrepreneur Council, which is for entrepreneurs under the age of 40. You can also find some LinkedIn groups, Women in Business, Network After Work, and then, of course, Rotary Club International, which doesn't have a particular focus on small business, but more so is a community service and leadership development organization. So you could make some really great connections through that as well. You can also check out websites such as Meetup and Eventbrite and type in your zip code to find some independently run small networking events in your area. And an example of what you might find on something like this is let's say a local real estate firm in your area that has an office, they might host a monthly networking event there in their office because it gets people feeling welcome and coming into their space and seeing, the different pictures of the houses they have and the listings they have at the time and that sort of thing. And it's just simply a way of meeting new people in the community. Obviously, we have coaches all over the world listening to this podcast, which I love, by the way. So what I would recommend is simply typing in small business networking and either your zip code or your city and see what pops up and simply check it out. You are not committing to anything when you go and check something out. There are both pros and cons to BNI and being a member. It works really great for some people, and others I know feel frustrated or like it was a waste of time. So I want to talk through some of those things and hopefully give you an idea of what to expect. I was a member of a chapter for about 5 years. It was right when I first started my business. I started as a member for the first couple of years, and then I joined the leadership team of my chapter, and I was the treasurer and then the vice president. And then in my final year, I was just a member again. Coach Jill on my team has been a member for 4.5 years. She was treasurer of her chapter for a year as well, and she just recently decided to leave her chapter at the end of 2023. I do offer to pay for a BNI membership for the coaches on my team because of the pros that I'm about to share with you. But I am also very aware of the tangible and intangible costs as well. So I'm going to talk about those too. So here's the pros. It is a great way, and I mean a fantastic way to get comfortable talking about what you do. If you are new to business, I really want to encourage you to attend networking events. And for me personally, attending a meeting where I could really build relationships with other members who I would see week after week felt like a win-win to me. I don't necessarily enjoy walking into a room full of strangers every week. That might be something you feel more comfortable than me, but personally, I really enjoyed networking when I knew what to expect. I knew what the room would look like. I knew what the agenda of the meeting was. There were familiar faces that I was probably forming some really great professional relationships with, but also just friendships. And that gave me a level of comfort after a while that I really appreciated. I personally don't love sort of fleeting relationships and small talk. And so I prefer feeling like I'm getting to know people week after week, and BNI really afforded that option. The mix of networking with relationship building helped me to feel more confident more quickly as a new entrepreneur. We were all there for the same purpose, which was to do one-to-ones with each other and to pass business. So it felt like we had an even playing field. I learned so much as a new business owner as well. And I do think this is one of the pros of joining when you're new. You learn how to do one-to-ones, how to talk about what you do, how to ask for referrals, and how to form those really strategic partnerships with other professionals as well. If any of these things feel uncomfortable, challenging, or scary to you, I do think BNI can provide some really valuable training and skills that will last you a lifetime in business. Some of the people I formed relationships with are still my biggest referral sources today, and they are some of my best resources as well. The mortgage lender from my chapter over 10 years ago when I was a member, that is still who I refer all of my clients to and who I use when we are navigating our own life goals. He has been an incredible resource to me over the life of my business, and that is just one example of a benefit that came from BNI. Now, keep in mind, this might also be why you don't get referrals right away, too. You are there and you are learning how to talk about who you are, who you help. You're learning how to train the other members on how to refer to you, what to say and what not to say. Those things don't just happen because you join and become a member. Referrals don't just immediately happen once you pay your membership fee. Not only is there a trust building and relationship building process that happens, which naturally just takes time, you're probably not doing a super fantastic job of making referrals happen for yourself either. And that is okay. That is one of the benefits of joining, is that you're going to be learning that skill as a member. If you join BNI, it is reasonable in my mind for it to take 8, 10, or 12 months for you to get referrals or leads or new connections. You might get some new connections and you might get some leads right away. But what I'm talking about when I say you get a referral is a really solid referral who turns into a new client very quickly, like a very warm or hot referral. That's eventually what you're hoping to get, but that does take a little while. That can take a little bit. So let's say you pay, and again, the annual membership fee could be anywhere from, $800 and some dollars plus the application fee your first year, up to, $1,200 depending on where you live, maybe even $1,300 for a year membership. You're attending week after week, and you are in it for 8 to 10 months, and you're into that year, and you haven't gotten a client yet from it. It is easy to feel as if it was a waste of time and money and be really frustrated by that. I totally get that when coaches share that experience. It's easy to feel as if that membership was a waste of money if the only reason you're going into it is to get a specific client referral. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to cover this in an episode, because I think our brains automatically do this calculation where we take the tangible cost and compare it to a tangible gain. So I paid X dollars for something, but I have not gained X dollars in return. But I do think that if done right, so many of your gains in the first year are invaluable. They're intangible gains. So if you think about it, what value would you place on becoming more confident talking about what you do, or learning how to have more productive and powerful one-to-ones with other professionals, or having more skill in asking for what you need in your business, or being able to articulate your offer and ideal client to a room full of people, or maybe even just getting out of your house every week? Like, what value would you place on getting dressed up and putting on some makeup or doing your hair and actually going out and having a business meeting? I shared a minute ago how I pay for a BNI membership for the coaches on my team if they want one. And in the first year, I pay this cost knowing full well I might not see a direct dollar for dollar value from it. I do not go into making that decision expecting new clients directly from the coach joining BNI. I do it because I think it's a fabulous way for a newer coach on my team to build confidence and form some great relationships of their own. Not the ones that I formed, and then I introduce those people to my coach and say, hey, you guys should know each other sort of thing, which also happens, but people who they know and who see them as the professional that they are, and not just because they're an extension of Kelsa, right? In addition to these benefits, there are definitely some pitfalls or some cons that I do think you should be prepared for. So I do think the time commitment, first and foremost, is nothing to gloss over. BNI can be a massive time suck if you allow it. If you're not careful, BNI can make you feel busy when you're not actually busy working your business. You're busy being a member and contributing to sort of the overall ethos of the BNI organization. And that's not to say that you shouldn't do some of that. Some of it hopefully is an investment in your business, but you have to stay conscious that this isn't social hour. This is an extension of your business, and it should be making your business stronger in some way, okay? Attendance is also a big deal, especially for some chapters. Again, some chapters are going to be more strict about this than others, but typically the overarching BNI policy is that you're allowed 3 absences in a 6-month period. And an absence means nobody is there representing you. So you're actually allowed to send a substitute in your place, or if you either have a business owner friend or somebody who can sub for you that day, maybe an assistant if you have an assistant, or you can simply find another business owner that was a visitor in your chapter at one point, or the friend of another member in your chapter or something like that. And as long as they go and represent you, then that does not count as an absence. So you could do those, and you could also have 3 absences on top of that in a 6-month period. So, and if you do that, those visitors or those subs don't count as an absence. But the time commitment, it's a lot. A weekly meeting that you have to make sure you're either there for, or you're finding somebody to take your place and sub for you. There's also the one-to-ones outside of it. And again, some chapters have sort of a social component in addition to the one-to-ones and also the weekly meeting. And so that's something else to consider. The second downfall to BNI, and honestly just any networking in general, is there are just some members who don't get it. I feel like the one-to-one doesn't feel productive. They don't seem to get what you do or even care to try and understand it. They walk in late to every meeting. They're never prepared. They seem to sort of wing their commercial. They never have anything sort of proactively considered before the meeting or the agenda starts. They don't seem great at their own business. And so you wouldn't actually refer to them, even if you did know someone who was interested. So it sort of feels a little frustrating sometimes because you feel like that is supposed to be your job or the role you play, but yet you feel like you can't play that role. Just know you are not going to like everyone, and not everybody will like you, especially when it comes to networking. You might be required to do one-to-one with every member of your chapter, but after that, I would just focus on the members that you have the best relationships with and where the most potential is, and just accept this as part of any organization, unfortunately. And sometimes a member will expect some preferential treatment, but that doesn't mean you have to give it. In BNI, at least, members doing business with one another is something that happens and happens often. It's encouraged, in fact. So don't feel as if you need to create some special offer just for the people because they're part of your chapter. Third sort of pitfall is there can be some drama sometimes, some cattiness, if you will. We are all adults, and so, you would think it wouldn't happen, but unfortunately, even as professionals, it still happens. My recommendation is to try to ignore it or avoid it as much as possible. Some folks just thrive in drama, and so they create it wherever they go, and you don't have to entertain any of it. The fourth sort of pitfall is the cost. The annual membership, which again is going to be different, but it might be anywhere from $800 or so to $1,300 or so, plus the local dues for your chapter can add up. And while I do think it is worth it in the first year because you're learning and growing so much, and I think it's a lot of what you pay for personally and in the following years, you don't need to gain those intangible benefits after a few years, right? So like in the second year, you have all of those skills of how to talk to people, how to ask and advocate for yourself in your business, and how to articulate your offer and clearly talk about your ideal client and those types of things. But in your second year, you already know all of that. And so you do expect to have some referrals coming in, especially in your second year, because that is sort of where the benefit comes from, right? In the first year, it might feel like you're not getting a lot of referrals, but you're hopefully growing and learning all of these skills for yourself. So if in your second year, you don't start getting these referrals, that's when the cost can really start to add up and not feel worth it anymore. Last but not least, the meeting agenda can start to feel boring after a while. It is the same agenda every week. So you can imagine I was a member for 5 years. Jill was a member for over 4 years. Every single week, the same agenda. And while I understand that it serves a very specific purpose, and I did actually enjoy it for the most part, it can feel a bit performative sometimes as well. I do want to be honest about that. You are performing for the visitors that are coming to check out your chapter, but you're also performing for the other members. You are each equally responsible for keeping the energy high, keeping everyone bought into why you're there. And so what I would do is I would just tell myself, like, it's 90 minutes. I made this commitment. And for a first-time visitor, it's their first time hearing this agenda, so I'm going to show up for them. Or maybe there's someone in the room, another member who's having a bad month in business or just got off the phone with a cranky customer like right before the meeting, and they could really use a pick-me-up or inspiration right now. They need some good energy, and so I'm going to do my part today. And of course, sometimes I was the person and that, needed the pick me up or was having a bad day or was in a funk, and the meeting would actually really help me. Like just being around other people, the conversations with the members, setting aside whatever was bothering me for 90 minutes, all of that would actually really help. So I do want to talk about what to look for in a chapter first, and then I'll wrap up this episode with how to get more referrals from your BNI membership if you do decide to join, or if you're currently a member and not getting as much business as you would like from your chapter. So what do you look for in a chapter? Number one is quality versus quantity. I mean, this is my motto for most things in business anyway. Don't necessarily look for the biggest chapter. Look for the chapter that has your referral partners in it. And this is a big one. It is super, super important. You might have a chapter nearby that has 50 members and one that has 25 members. It's easy to assume the one with more members is better. They will report the amount of business that they're all sharing amongst each other. They are going to report that every single week during the weekly agenda. This is something that all chapters do as part of their agenda, is they keep a running tally for the year of how much business they've passed amongst themselves, okay? So when they do this, it's very reasonable, right? We're all math people, to assume that the chapter with more members is likely passing more business. And so you could see that as like, well, I want to join that chapter, right? But the makeup of the chapter matters more than anything. For example, I joined a chapter. This was when I was in it for 5 years. I was in the same chapter. I joined a chapter that had a very strong financial power team, which is what we called ourselves. We had me, a financial coach, of course, a CPA, a bookkeeper, an insurance agent, a mortgage lender, a debt settlement attorney, an estate planning attorney, a small business attorney, a family law attorney, a financial advisor, and a credit repair specialist, all in this one chapter. All of us were talking to our clients about money every single day. So it was really easy for this small group of us to refer to each other on a very consistent basis. But let's look at another example. Let's say the chapter has a bunch of professionals that are in the trades, general contractors, handymen, AC or furnace repair people or installation people, tile or flooring installers, landscapers, electricians, plumbers, and an interior designer, perhaps. You can probably imagine how easy it is for this group of people to refer amongst each other. But it's not as easy for those people to refer to you. They're not sitting down and really talking about money in the way that prompts the same type of referral as that financial power team that I was describing a second ago. When you visit a chapter, you are looking for your main referral partners. Let's say your niche is helping couples or young couples. You might look for a chapter with an event planner, maybe because there's weddings or baby showers and that types of thing, right? A realtor, and yes, maybe family law attorneys, estate planning attorneys, or perhaps like an OBGYN or naturopathic doctor, a career counselor or a recruiter, a therapist, or maybe a property manager, since many young couples could be renters. The makeup of the chapter members and their professions is, I believe, the single most important factor to consider when looking for a chapter to join. The second most important factor is probably the day and time of the weekly meeting. Do you want to start your day with networking? Do you want to take a break midday and have it be over lunch? Do you work full time and can't go during normal business hours? These are all just a few things to take into consideration. I would say the third most important factor is probably the overall vibe. Like I was saying, you're going to be around these people a lot. It can get repetitive, and what helps with that is the effort that is put in by other members. This was over 10 years ago now, but I was a member of a chapter here in Arizona, and I would go back to Michigan every summer on vacation. This was before we actually spent our whole summer there. And I thought I would check out a couple of chapters while I was there on vacation one year. And oh my God, they were both super negative chapters. Like the energy of them was just really negative and everybody complained the whole time. Nobody seemed to like their business, honestly. And there was just no energy compared to the chapter that I had, come from and was accustomed to. Now, I am not saying that all Michigan chapters are like this and that all Arizona chapters are amazing, like the one that I was a part of. I am sure that that is not true. It was just the two that I visited. But that's why I say it's really important to visit a lot of chapters initially if you can. And that will, of course, depend on where you live. But that is going to give you a better feel for this vibe that I'm like really wanting you to sort of pay attention to. When you visit, chances are someone from their membership committee will take you aside to talk with you about your interest level in joining. This is a great time to ask questions, and some questions you might consider asking if these things are important to you. How they feel about you working full time and working your business at the same time. Again, some chapters are going to be okay with this. Some chapters are not. Technically, I think BNI as an organization, I could be wrong, sort of frowns upon this, but we absolutely had these members in our chapter and they were amazing members. Weekly chapter dues. So how much do you have to pay each week and how are those paid? How active is the chapter outside of the weekly meeting? How do they handle visitors? Some chapters are really organized and have a visitors list or a subs list. People who love to be subs for other members when you can't be at the meeting. And other chapters are sort of like, yeah, I don't know, you'll figure it out. Good luck sort of thing. And you will be fine. Honestly, that's the truth. Either way, it's actually easier to find a sub than what you might think when you're first starting out. What type of members are they looking for? Will just any warm body do, or does the membership committee take their time to qualify people when they apply? How much turnover the chapter has? How long has their longest member been a member? And if you live somewhere that doesn't have a chapter, or maybe doesn't have one at the time that you would like to join, you can always start your own chapter, and there is information on their website about that option. I never personally did this, but I do know a number of people who did, but I just can't personally speak to it, but I do know that it's an option. Let's end this episode by talking about how to get more referrals from your BNI membership. First, the types of commercials you say each week are important. Remember, each week you have less than 1 minute to talk about you and your business. So you've got to make this land. You've got to make it stick. You have to be creative or specific or possibly both. I was never great at being creative. Some people would bring in props or do silly things that would get everyone's attention. That wasn't really me, so I just focused on being very specific and overly clear. Even if you're creative, you want to use this time to be specific as well. Mention who the client is, but also what they should say to this potential client as a member. So I'm looking for someone who wants help managing their money. If you know that person, send them my way. This whole idea, this phrase, send them my way, is something I feel like BNI people say all of the time. You will hear it every chapter you go to visit. Send them my way. What does send them my way even mean? That is not clear, y'all. It is not. Do not say send them my way. Nobody knows what that means, okay? Those things don't land as powerfully. Even the statement like, somebody who wants help managing their money better, right? That's still not specific. Here is an example, okay? My name is Kelsa. I'm a financial coach and my business is Fiscal Fitness. I would love to connect with the person you're talking to who mentions needing to replace their car soon and they want to make that decision in the smartest way possible. Tell them you know just the person who can help them think through that decision so they don't experience buyer's remorse or get in over their head. Ask them, can I introduce you to my friend Kelsa? And then I would love if you dropped us both an email introduction. I'm Kelsa, financial coach and owner of Fiscal Fitness. Thank you for your referrals. Also, instead of asking for the end client, ask for potential referral partners. Here's an example of that. My name is Kelsa. I'm a financial coach and my business is Fiscal Fitness. I am looking to connect with CPAs. If you have a CPA you love, I would love an email introduction. Tell them I can help their clients who struggle with juggling their cash flow, and together we can be a great team. Send me your CPAs. Again, I'm Kelsa, financial coach and owner of Fiscal Fitness. Thank you for your introductions and connections. Finally, use your commercial to ask for what you need for your business or clients, especially if this profession is not represented in your chapter. I have a client who needs help with blank. Please help me help my client by introducing me to these professionals. I'm asking for a name, number, email, and/or website. Professionals you personally recommend are preferred. Or here's another example. I'm finding that a lot of my clients need a good mechanic, someone they can trust to repair their cars and do honest work. If you have a solid mechanic you personally trust with your vehicle, I'd love their information. Or an example of something you might need. I'm looking for a great graphic designer I can use for a project I'm launching in the new year. I don't want to have to do the graphics myself, and I'm looking to hire someone on a project basis. If you know of a good graphic designer who likes helping small business owners, could you introduce us to one another via email? I would love that. In other words, the more well-rounded your requests and commercials are, the easier it is for the other members to practice emailing and introducing you. So when the time comes that they can actually refer a client to you, that step is going to feel like a more natural step for them to take because they've started doing it already, but in smaller ways, okay? Another way that you can get more clients from your BNI membership is to make sure that you are training the members during one-to-ones. This is really important. Your first one-to-one will probably be a get-to-know-each-other meeting, but then you'll want to meet again and again with the members who have the greatest potential for being in front of your ideal clients and having the kinds of conversations where referring you is most natural. In these additional one-to-ones, make sure you're covering exactly how they should talk about you and what they should not say as well. I would tell my power team, don't tell someone, you should go see Kelsa, she'll help you get on a budget, because no one wants to be on a budget. Okay, well, us financial people, we totally love our budgets, but most other people don't want to be on a budget, right? Not really. So I would tell them to say this instead. My friend Kelsa helps with this stuff. My friend Kelsa helps with stuff like this. I don't actually know how she does it, but I know this is like her thing. I'm going to introduce the two of you and let her explain it to you. Is that okay? Can I introduce you two? She's really nice and can at least point you in the right direction. Now, maybe because this was a long time ago and I started doing financial coaching before literally anybody knew what it was, I found that the best way to train the people was to actually let me do the explaining of what I do. So don't even try, in other words. So this approach actually worked really well because it ultimately was very low pressure for people. And it was also really low pressure for the client once the connection was made. Now, it did mean that the referrals I got were maybe a little cold or lukewarm, right? Meaning that I would have to educate them or spend time just sort of getting to know each other and explaining what I do, how I help, and those types of things before they became a client. But for the longest time, I had to do that anyway. Nobody knew what financial coaching was, and there was a huge education curve before I would get a client most of the time. Like I said, that has just always been a part of my client attraction conversations because I got started so early in the profession. Like I said, most people didn't know what it meant anyway if I did say financial coach. So I just got really comfortable knowing that no one was going to be a warm or a hot lead most likely, and that I would have to invest a little bit of time and attention into those conversations. The other thing that I want you to do to get more referrals is to really collaborate with your power team. Do free workshops together. Go live on each other's social media. Share each other's articles in your newsletters and link to each other's websites. Host client appreciation events together. Me and the financial advisor of my chapter would book a movie theater for a screening of a certain movie. We would go in on it together, so it'd be some of her clients and some of mine, and we would just split the cost, but both show appreciation to our clients while getting in front of each other's client bases as well. So it was a total win-win. And of course, we always chose the movies that we wanted to see ourselves, so that made it fun as well. The last thing I want you to do is make the most of your 10-minute presentation. Every week, part of the agenda is that a member gets chosen to give a 10-minute presentation, and you want to make the most of this when it is your turn. This is your time to demonstrate your expertise and wow the members. Share testimonials, results, give some of your most valuable and best advice, and then end with exactly how they should refer to you and why. In other words, don't just wing your one-to-ones, be intentional and strategic with them. Don't just wing your commercials, think about them each week and keep a list of them so that you can reuse them periodically. And don't just wing your 10-minute commercial, craft it into a super compelling message on why referring to you is a safe bet, and then demonstrate how easy it is to refer to you. I hope this episode was helpful for you. Coaching is all about figuring out what you think of something and how that is impacting how you feel and the actions you take. In order to honor the coaching philosophy, I'd like to end every episode with a question for you to reflect on. I am curious what your thoughts are on BNI. Are you a member, and how is that experience going for you? If you're not a member yet, was this helpful and educational, and will you be checking out and visiting a few chapters, or have you decided this is just not your jam? Either way, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. I believe financial coaching is the best and most rewarding way to make a living. I truly love what I do. If you're ready to learn and see how to become a profitable, successful financial coach, check us out at financialcoachacademy.com to learn more about our online courses, free trainings, and our events. As always, I love hearing from you. If you have any questions for this podcast, submit them at financialcoachacademy.com/podcast. And if you love this podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. It would mean the world to me. I'll see you next week, Coach.